Hello, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk about Jet Li, and more specifically, what I feel is his most entertaining film to date. And that movie is High Risk, also known as Meltdown. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of blowback, but hear me out. Hear me out. So, Jet Li, as a someone who's gotten into kung fu in like let's say mid 90s, that was a great period for martial arts, especially from Hong Kong, and people like Jackie Chan and Jet Li starting to come into the US, and really the Western audiences, and really making a huge name, not just for the hardcore martial arts fans, but and I've seen a lot of Jet Li films. I wouldn't say all, but the ones that he's mainly known for and is mainly popular for, I've seen those. And he's made great films. Now, I don't think I've ever seen a bad Jet Li film at all. If his worst would be mediocre, that's a great thing. You know what I mean? But his outstanding films, I know people are going to be mentioning like, what about Once Upon a Time in China, that series, or like Fist of Legend, which I love. Movies like that. And yeah, those are great movies in their own right, especially the fight choreography. Give you that, like Once Upon a Time in China too, with Donnie Yen. That's just amazing. Basically everything in Fist of Legend, amazing. I mean, he did justice to Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury. That, no, hands down with that. However, what I mean by entertaining, it's a film that when I go watch, I'm entertained, not just the action, those sequences alone, but the entire movie itself. And from start to finish, High Risk is that movie. I mean, I don't think there's any other movie that Jet Li, well, I take that back. There's Tai Chi Master, but it's a different story. That that alone deserves another discussion. But in High Risk, this movie from front to back is just like something I would spend money to go to the theaters and watch repeatedly. I mean, it's so entertaining. It's a mix. It's a unique film for Jet Li in a sense. It's not a period film, and I know he's done quite a variety of films. He's more known for his period films, but like this, it's a blend of like modern day, even though it's a total ripoff of Die Hard, Bruce Willis's Die Hard, but it's modern. It's got the action sequence, not just the fight choreography. There's plenty of it, but it's action alone. I mean, there's gunplay. There's all kinds of stuff like an action movie you would expect from an action movie, and I would say nonstop to that effect. And comedy as well that works, and that's the thing. Usually, comedy, Hong Kong comedy, a lot of it, at least in my opinion, when I watch it, it doesn't really feel right or doesn't work, and there could be many reasons. A couple of the main ones being like cultural things. Even though I kind of get some of the majority of the cultural references, the Asian cultural references, but it just doesn't translate well into like Western eyes, or even more specifically like from the U.S. Just the comedy just doesn't really work or really make sense. And also, there's like obviously references to either current events or people or something that you had to like live there and seen it to know what they're talking about. And if you don't know, the comedy won't make sense, the references and things like that. So that's why a lot of Hong Kong films that I've watched, the comedy, especially if it's marketed or was geared for a comedy type action film or comedy alone, a lot of times for me it just feels okay. It doesn't feel that funny or anything like that. I mean, I get where the comedy is, but it's not that funny. However, here the comedy works. It's the backstory is pretty interesting too of what happens, but that's the thing. I mean, the not only is it just the action is fantastic, it's just balls out action from front to back, with great. Well, I'd say above average fight choreography. But the comedy in here, I know a lot of people are going to get mad, for Jet Li fans especially, that I think people don't like the comedy, but in here, to me, it's funny and it works. It put together the whole package. It's just really well done. It's very entertaining. It's really sheer madness if think about it, of what this whole movie is about. And I don't want to get into the underlying details of the producer or the director and so forth, but essentially, or give away the plot, but essentially, this is again just a Die Hard clone, but bit more funnier. There's comedy involved, and Jet Li, and that's another thing too. Jet Li in this movie, even though he's supposed to be the protagonist, he's the bodyguard. It feels like the guy he's protecting. I think his name is Jackie Chung or something, or I think he was in real life he's a pop star. But that guy seemed to be more of the protect or the star of the thing, and Jet Li is almost secondary. However, Jet Li still has a lot of scenes, and there's a lot of great fight scenes in there. And I think that's what for like real Jet Li fans, that's what would tick off a lot of people, is because of that. But outside of that, if you just from not knowing Jet Li or anything like that, just going to a movie theater and this comes up and you just watch it without knowing any historical, any history between the actors or things like that, and just watching it straight out, this is very, very, really the most entertaining film I've ever watched from a Jet Li film. So this is one of those films that if someone wanted to watch Jet Li and they would ask me, "Hey, give me your top 5." This I would have to include this in my top 5. It's again, it's you go watch a movie. For me, at least, I want to be entertained, right? You know, and this has it all in spades. Highly recommend. If you want to go watch it, feel free to watch it. I definitely would recommend this as a Jet Li vehicle into more Jet Li's films, even though it's very just the tip of what Jet Li can do. The other Jet Li films I've mentioned are more Jet Li, but definitely to me, my favorite Jet Li film from an entertainment standpoint, hands down. Highly recommend. Thanks.